Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today on this Thanksgiving week. Yeah, I know I am thankful for our alumni host today, Mike. Thanks so much for joining us, and I'm excited for the chat today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. This is great.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So just a couple of housekeeping items. My name is Jenna Quinn, and it's my pleasure as the Assistant Director of Alumni and Affinity Engagement to welcome everyone today to this edition of the 49er Industry Chat. We just need to inform everyone that this session is being recorded. So really what that means for you is that this will be available to you on demand at www.csulb.edu/alumni. So you can watch it again or share it with a friend or a colleague or anyone you think might get something good out of this. And since this is a webinar format for anyone who is joining us live today, we do encourage that you submit your questions using the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. When you can submit any questions that you have for our speaker. And you don't have to wait until the end. You can submit it just as soon as it comes into your head, and we'll get it relayed over to him. And with that, I would love to read you off a little bit of something about Mike while we get started. So Mike graduated from CSULB with a bachelor's and a master's, graduating with Phi Kappa Phi Honors in computer engineering. Postgraduate, he has been active in the engineering and mentoring community to ensure success for the next generation of students. Since entering the industry in 2008, Michael has worked in defense, commercial, and mid-sized companies, experiencing the vast differences and challenges in the engineering industry. In addition to an adjunct professor role at USC, experiencing academia. So in his current role, Mike is the application-specific integrated circuit technical lead and for the next generation GPS defense program at Raytheon, overseeing 15 plus engineers and collaborating across multiple disciplines for the success of the product. Thank you, Mike, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, no, thank you. And sorry for the mouthful of things that I just put on you. I'm sorry.
No, I always love it because it shows all of the great things that you're doing and that you have done since leaving the beach, and it really just shows the success of our grads. So I'm happy to read it off.
Yeah, no, I'm glad. I was a little nervous when typing, and I was like, wow, I think I put a tongue twister there just to quiz you a little bit on
Just
it.
to mess with me a little bit. It
Yeah.
keeps me on my toes. I like
Oh
it.
yeah.
All right. Well, let's just get right into the questions, and we'll start off with a little bit of background. So, can you tell me a little bit about your experiences in your life, and what led you to CSULB?
Yeah, so growing up, I actually was from the Bay Area and had moved to Central Valley, and seeing kind of the dot-com era with 95 and everything, having a lot of family members dealing with or kind of related to the engineering field, so to speak, especially my uncles. They were all kind of very forward and forward looking and whatnot, and kind of exposed me a little bit towards the various different industries and whatnot, especially like engineering field specific. So it's kind of how it led me actually a little bit into Long Beach. It was more so at first, hey, I want to get out of Modesto, Central California. And then, hey, I want to experience the beach, or that beach lifestyle. And so, I think for most people from California, you may know Santa Cruz or Santa Barbara, but Long Beach is very unique. And so that's one of the things that really led me to Long Beach, was having a little bit of that city life, with downtown, 4th Street, Belmont Shores, and also getting, a great kind of environment at the time. And I'm sure, Long Beach has blossomed since then, getting a lot of rewards and recognition. But, back in 2003, for, a kid from Central Modesto type thing, hearing about, so many opportunities that Long Beach has given people, it wasn't as expensive as private schools or whatnot. So it definitely helped me make a very easy decision, I would say, to go to Long Beach and really explore this. And and I stuck with it. As you mentioned, I did my bachelor's and master's, and I think it's paid dividends. It's exposed me a lot to different things, and very thankful. That's kind of what led me to Long Beach State, I would say. But so far, I still live in Long Beach. I've been here since 2003. Gosh, now I'm dating myself here. It's 2023 now, but 20 years at Long Beach, and I've been on campus a few times, and I start feeling a little old, seeing a couple buildings change and seeing, and a lot for the better too. And we're still active within kind of the alumni area. We go to occasional alumni games and whatnot. So that's always fun. We've been to a couple of volleyball ones. My wife did some volleyball in high school, so she's been grooming me a little bit into volleyball. I'm more of a basketball player, so so I watch Cal State Long Beach, go Beach.
Go Beach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that actually leads perfectly into my next question, which is, interested in basketball or volleyball, but what was your student experience like at the beach? Were you into sports when you were at the beach, or
Oh
any
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, from Long Beach offers intramurals, so that was great. Great way to experience and see everybody, meet other people, like-minded, especially so I did a lot of basketball intramurals. At the time, there was a club that was around, and the name has changed. I think now it's a different group, but there was like a lot of beach sports. So it was kind of like an off-campus, but run by people on campus. So they had volleyball, and at the time, we didn't have the gym that's over there by the engineering building. So if we wanted that beach field, we actually had to go to the beach. So we did volleyball over there, or soccer, or flag football. So they had a nice little group, and things have changed a little bit, but that was sort of the activities and things that we did, at least for sports wise over there. But of course, I was active, with some of my professors, for instance, and doing projects or helping them with their own research and whatnot. Everybody had to work, so I actually worked on campus. So at the time, the student union, for instance, they had I'm sure it's still there. I haven't exactly gone back to that exact location, but the candy store right next to it is an information booth. So that was started to get put in around 2005, and so I was the information guy telling you, hey, here's Jamba Juice, or something else that was there, I guess, at the time. So.
Yeah, we still have the information booth, and it's still super helpful. So thanks for kicking us off on
Oh
that.
yeah, no, it was great. Yeah, hopefully they're still selling tickets and everything else. Yeah, but that was fun.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's awesome. I think that's great. I mean, that you worked, you had great relationships with your professors, and you did sports on the beach, and I think that sounds just truly like a good student experience.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the beautiful thing about, I think, Long Beach just in general. I mean, there's so many different opportunities, and even still, if you're a person that may not want to be on campus, for instance, or let's say you wanted to live off campus, the off-campus housing was available. The shuttle service still goes. And everything, if you wanted to go down to the beach, the bus transit system is perfect. Goes down to Belmont Shore, Pine Street, if if you want to see the downtown area, or the aquarium. But just so many different things, and it's really diverse area too. Different niches, and even still, if you go Bixby Knolls, which is just north of the 405, it's a completely different kind of environment in comparison to downtown, where occasionally it gets a little touristy, but it's still fun though. So I love it. But
I can tell all your Long Beach vibe by your wall back there.
oh yeah.
Man.
Yeah, a lot of history with each one of these little photos, and especially if anybody recognizes the wood mural there. Yeah, you get it's a nice map to show you kind of the different areas of what Long Beach truly is, and it's great.
Yeah, that's great, and I'm glad you're still here, and I'm glad you're still touting the Long Beach lifestyle, man.
Oh yeah, no, trust me, I still have my Go Beach outfit ready to go, and the hat ready for the games, you name it. I love this city very much. So
That's perfect. Well,
Yeah.
so what when you were graduating from the beach, right?
Mhm.
And obviously your family was back up north, and you fall in love with the city. What how did you decide that you wanted to stay, or that was the right move to stay? And was it career driven? Did you know that you wanted to go into the aerospace field? How did you make that decision, and how was that first step into that first job like for you?
Oh, terrifying. You go from this academia life where, you're on campus, you see your friends, you see your daily professors that you've known and grown and, kind of, they become your friends essentially. And, the first thing that always happens is, oh, I need a job, immediately afterwards is, the first thing. Or, there's plenty of other avenues. I think, some of my friends, they took on travel, for instance, just to wind down from that, environment and then go into the working environment just to make sure that's what they wanted. So for me, and my personal kind of preference was I actually did some internships before actually going out into the field. So I got to experience a little bit of industry from a commercial side over in Irvine. And then I did another internship over in Northrop. So I at least got to see both sides. And then, of course, my parents at the time, because I am family driven. So I wanted to, also get a little bit closer to them. But luckily, my dad was very, kind of forward thinking. He knew that, I want the best for you. I want you to grow and, be prosperous. And so, he gave me some ideas and, comforted me a little bit, after that anxiety of, hey, I just graduated and I need to get a job type thing. So, of course, I looked around and I remembered my internships, and, the first job right out of college was Raytheon, where I'm at today. I was there for 5 years, and, the first job, and the really good thing about, defense, or at least just anybody's first job, is it's a good way to figure out if this is really what you want to do. And sometimes you get really good companies, like Raytheon, for instance, and they're not just a niche kind of thing where it's you're only doing engineering. You get to experience different types of groups, whether it's systems or somebody from a math department or whatnot. So they're able to help, and Raytheon does a good job of also mentoring and comforting you, just knowing you're going into this. We all, a lot of things that we learn now, especially me after working for 20 years. I know that it's really scary, obviously coming out and being independent and, getting that first job, making sure you can pay rent and doing everything there. So we do a really good job with mentoring. And I had a really great mentor at the time, and they helped guide me of saying, this is kind of where the industry is going. It's going to, for me being engineer, this is kind of your career path where I kind of recommend, I'll set you up for success type thing. So that's kind of what led me to kind of get there. Long story short, I guess, but over time, having that mentoree and mentorship kind of thing was what really took off, I would say, within the first year or two, that got me to want to stay into engineering. And over time, I jumped around, and like like the intro you kind of mentioned, I jumped around to a mid-sized company and got to meet a great group of friends there. What we did was more on the startup scale, where we really hit the ground running, of just a few of us working in the office, working day and night type thing to get this product. And over time, the product grew. I stayed there for another 5 years, and we were a family, because there was only it started out as 10, grew to 15, 20, 25, and the CEO was great at the time, and he took me on knowing that I was still 5 years removed from college type thing. And and it was just so much experience, so much to experience just in general, to see such a difference in everything. And that's why I think from there, that's how I've grown so much, of seeing so many differences. And that's why a lot of people sometimes don't think too much long term, because you're so focused on the short term kind of goals. And whenever we get the interview questions. What's your goal 5 years out of, 5 years from now type thing. And I didn't know that answer. If somebody asked me today, what's that answer? Well, I have a son, and in 5 years, I want to be next to him. I want to watch him walk and play baseball, basketball with him, and I also want to work. I love engineering. I would say that's probably what kept me, is having role models, and, from professors to, to people in the field that kind of kept me, here in Long Beach, and then as well as keeping me going, still in the engineering field and exploring defense and, the commercial. So that's what really kept me going. And it's, still keeping me, motivated to this day. There's a lot of good people in the world, and, everybody's trying to make it better. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's stay on the topic of mentorship then, since clearly this is something that's, important in your career trajectory, and sounds like in the field. But I think a lot of folks, especially students or recent grads, might have some apprehension about, like, how do I find a mentor?
mm.
What is a mentorship? Like, what am I supposed to do? What are they supposed to do? So could you just, talk a little bit about your experience with mentorship, both as a mentee and a mentor, and, how has that really functionally worked out for you?
Yeah. So I guess starting out as a, actually finding a mentor it's always nerve wracking. Where do I go? I'm fresh out of school. Who do I talk to? And the good thing about Raytheon, or just in general, anybody that, gets hired on, if you bring up that conversation of just saying, hey, I would like to have somebody kind of guide me, or just having those open conversations. People love to do this, and there's a lot of people that are open to, teaching. And because it, me, I'm going to be a little bit more selfish right now. If I teach somebody right now and say, hey, this is how you do it, and let's say if that person was working for me, I no longer have to do it as an example, and then that person will be excellent at the job, and they'll prosper type thing. So that's kind of the more business kind of side of it, right? But from a mentorship, though, a lot of people know, again, coming out of school, coming into it, an industry, you're not going to know kind of everything. So it was very, I was shy. I'm not going to lie. I was definitely the shy kid, a little bit more so from high school to college. And then especially with my peers, and, being the new kid that, just graduated, 21 years of age type stuff, and talking with somebody that's 45 and, very well seasoned in kind of the field. And luckily I found somebody that, exposed me to, hey, Raytheon has in general a really great program that says, if you go to this website, here's how you can start that conversation. If you're looking for something just kind of dabbling, and let's say if your field is in biology, but you want to touch on engineering type stuff, and they'll help you kind of within that area. But in general, there was a lot of people from management, and they were always open to it. So that definitely helped kind of guide me as kind of being there. But now that I've grown older, I do work with quite a bit of people that I take on, and I know, I just love pushing, I guess, like people to be better or be great. I see, I make friends with them, even still in the academia when I taught for a little bit. I still got a lot of those questions, even still today. It's been a little bit while since I've taught, but I still get questions from people previously, like, hey, how is this industry? How is this growing, transitioning from mid-size to Raytheon or vice versa? So it's been, I've been very hands-on. I keep in touch with a lot of people. I talk to them either through, we have various communications now. This is the digital era, which is great. Everybody does Zoom chats now, and so I keep in touch with them through LinkedIn, or most of them have my phone number, for instance, and we text or just chat, just like, hey, here's how this is. What do you think about this as far as like a next jump into my career if I decide to do X, Y, Z? So my take on mentorship for what I've done is, I've jumped around. I've made a lot of baby steps to get to where I am today. Never leaps and bounds. Nothing was ever kind of instantaneous. But I would say from a lot of good information is out there, and if you find that right person to help you and guide you, they'll put you in the right direction, and you'll be very successful. And that's what I've tried to do, especially as a mentor. I put people exactly where they should be. I have just enough kind of I would say experience to at least, I've seen most of the field, especially in engineering. I've seen a lot more in the last 5 years. I've seen the industry change at times, and I've been able to at least provide at least some input as far as what I see, occurring in the future. So I love it, but I think it's the best thing that anybody can ever do for their career.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about like the nitty-gritty of it. What does a typical day look like in your position?
Yeah, so I have a really short commute now, so I'll start with there. The great thing is, right now, and unfortunately, it comes because of COVID, but we all developed and worked how to work from home type thing. So luckily, right now, I still work from home. But outside of that, ignoring the commute being lost, so which is kind of nice. My weekly cadence right now is I work with, they're called a very mouthful, apologies, integrated product technical leads, which is just my project management, just above me. And so they're in charge a little bit more of the business side, and I'm more in charge of the technical side. So I provide them once a week, just, here's some general status, and we'll say this takes place every Wednesday, for example. So that's kind of my weekly meeting, I guess, with, upper management. And then because I'm kind of the middle ground between the business and then the engineers, I work daily with engineers. Right now, since I am a technical lead, I help guide them through whatever issues they may have. We have daily stand-up meetings for about 30 minutes or so. Hey, do you have questions? Are you running into any issues? And then if something ever happens, we schedule a meeting. If it takes longer than 30 minutes, we try to uncover any problems. And so that's kind of in general for the daily. But alongside of that, we do work with multiple disciplines in order to make a product. It's never just one engineer, for instance. There's countless disciplines that we've seen. We work with mechanical engineers. We work with systems. In systems, we'll say, well, you're only this small product here on this board, but I need it to work in this giant system. And so we try to work with them to see, well, how does this work? How would you like this to work? So that's kind of a daily thing that we have there. And then even still, somebody has to use my product. So then we work with somebody, let's say software people, and they ask me, well, how do I program something or do something with your processor, and do all the nitty-gritty things that I need it to do to work within the system. So my technical role is at the level now where I'm working across disciplines, just to get answers for my team specifically, to make sure any problems that they have with coding or just architecture questions or requirements, I make sure to unblock them, I would say. And then every once in a while, luckily, even though I am a little bit higher up on the lead side, but I do get to be in the weeds and start coding and doing all the fun stuff that a lot of engineers enjoy doing. And that's the stuff, the fun stuff, I would say, that all of us did is coming out of college and seeing your project get coded from the ground up type thing. So I do quite a bit, I would say. But
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it.
some days it's a little hectic to remember what I am doing, but I would say, at least for my role, though, I mean, it pretty much touches on a little bit of everything, though. So
Yeah. Well, I'd love to ask you, and I feel like I suspect that I know the answer to this, but maybe not. So, what would you say is the most challenging part of your job? And then also, because I don't like to do a negative without a positive, what's the most rewarding part of your job?
yeah. So as an engineer, the hardest part is always trying to figure out a problem. So for us, a lot of the times, there's a lot of human interaction there. You have, even still, if you think of writing a white paper or something, did I do a spell check on it? And so little things like that, and then it'll offer suggestions. Is that the correct word that I actually want to use? So the most difficult part is trying to figure out what is the requirement or what is the actual problem we're trying to solve. So a lot of that, let's say if there's a problem that we're trying to solve, okay, well, how do I solve that? How do I create the architecture for it? And that's where, again, we work together as a team. We get systems, electrical engineers, we get various disciplines in order to try and solve that problem. So I would say that's probably the most challenging thing. It's like doing, kind of sharpening your axe, so to speak, before you actually chop down the tree. You put in that extra effort at the beginning, and it pays dividends much greater later. And then on the opposite side, the most rewarding for me is when you actually hit that milestone or you get something done. If you solve that problem and that is bulletproof and everything coded and everything looks great, that's the time for celebration. That's the time that I think most people ever look forward to. It's like, from school, you go in there and you take a test, and then sometimes I had some tests that didn't look that great, but there were other tests. It's like, man, I feel great after this. Let's go enjoy our time and go do something else outside of actual work and whatnot. So that's the stuff that I always look forward to. When we hit that milestone, we all work hard, we hit the ground running, and then of course, I just seeing that one thing that happens right at the end is great. So that's probably the most rewarding thing, is seeing a project done. And for any engineers that are on this, we all make projects, and to see, let's say for anybody that does robots, for instance, if you've ever done, there's a program called Micro Mouse, and I'm sure it's changed quite a bit since when I went to school. But to see this mouse go through a maze and get to the end faster than anything you've ever seen, when before it used to just crash into the same wall every 10 seconds, to see it solve that problem really quick, it's rewarding. It's one of those things that that I think that's why most people become engineers. It's just knowing at the end that excitement that comes with it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that. I like that there's like a clear, there's something to work for and to achieve and to get that feeling, and then start all over again, right? Because there's always the next problem or the next thing.
Yeah.
Well, we did have a question come in from a graduate student in the electrical engineering program with a specialization in ASIC design and verification field. And they're wondering, what are the, requirements for getting into a position, and what types of things should they be doing to prepare to get into a job like yours? And, are there any summer internships that they should be looking for?
Yeah. So especially with design, and I see the question there is related to both design and verification. So the good thing about ASIC specifically, from a requirement in order to get that next position, you definitely have to know. Again, you won't know everything. Again, we understand you are graduating, but the key thing is just knowing the basics. If you did really well, you probably did quite a bit of projects. The key thing is making sure you understand and know what you did as as a student or an engineer. Understanding your projects, understanding the ins and outs, because we go through so many projects, we go through so many courses. Especially as engineers, we're very heavy front loaded on math. For instance, we have to take countless math courses. And then, as we grow into the more senior classes or master's positions, you start going into specific fields. So I would say for design specifically, I'm going to get real technical here.
Please do.
But if you, depending on which side of the field you're on, you can either go into front-end design, which is a lot of the code that you'll see. So if you are heavy into that area, I recommend, again, studying up on your digital signal processing classes. You have a lot of mathematics there, but there's a lot of cool stuff that's happening there with filters or just concepts in general. So that's kind of the front end of design. If you are especially for Cal State, there's a couple of courses there called VLSI, which is a little bit more, or if you did FPGAs, there's like a back end tool, so to speak, there. So if you know what an FPGA does, you know how to reprogram it, you know the ins and outs about clocks and resets and all the other fun stuff. You know, I would say, you know, if that's the field that you really want to get into, study that. You know, there's a lot of good technology that's happening, you know, since school. FPGAs are blossoming, especially if you would like to do defense. You know, FPGAs is the way to go. There's not too much really from ASIC versus FPGA. It's that the differences are starting to come in a little bit, so they're not that vast different. But the good thing about ASIC, it's very specific, so you can't reprogram it. You have to make sure you know everything. So I would say that's the front end and back end sort of design. So if you know that, just getting a little bit of experience that gets your foot in the door as far as, you know, those interview questions or whatnot. Because whenever you know, you Google something, you know, what are the top 5 questions you're going to get, you know, whenever you go into something. I guarantee you those questions are going to be the same thing that you're going to see when you start your career. You're going to, you know, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to have to learn how the system works. How do I interact? How do I design something, or how do I fit in there? And that's where your expertise is really going to come into play, depending on, you know, your career path. And then of course on the opposite side, I see verification. Verification is blowing up right now. I think it's a career that a lot of people are investing quite a bit of money. Back in 2003, everybody just wanted to be design. That was where the fun stuff was at. But the concept behind verification has changed. We use new tools, new methodologies. So for verification, we use something called UVM. So I forget the acronym name, but in general, it's a new type of verification. Well, I guess it's been around for a while, but in general, that verification is how we use, or what we use in the field now. You can start out, you know, having a great career out of it. You can, and it's the one thing that I think has been missing for a long time, that, you know, we do all this design work and, you know, we kind of just say, well, it kind of works there and it kind of works there, but now we have this formal verification that goes into play, and those people are the ones that, you know, truly prove out, hey, you know, like I have this iPhone, for instance. I make sure that phone really does what it's supposed to do before it gets to the consumer. You know, sometimes there are, you know, things that escape, but, you know, these verification engineers are the backbone of really showing that this product works. You know, they provide all the artifacts. So I would say, from explaining quite a bit there, from a requirement in order to kind of get the job, or get, you know, that would be the 3 things I would say to look into from that career standpoint. You know, especially for summer internships. A lot of places do offer those same concepts. So you may see digital logic design, depending on if you're looking for the design side. You'll find UVM if you're looking for the verification side. As far as internships, Raytheon and most defense industries, they start looking for interns. Actually, they start putting out notices, I would say, in December and January, to staff up for people during the summer. And Raytheon has a great program. Actually, most defense, same thing with Northrop and Boeing, if you're geared a little bit more towards defense. But they have great programs for the summer. They have specific things for summer interns themselves, because they don't want to put you 100% into one thing. They want to expose you a little bit to the field, what a program offers you, what the company will offer you. So there's a lot of good opportunity, I would say, to, you know, dabble a little bit in everything, see everything, meet some great people. I've met quite a bit. I am one of the mentors that just so happens to be on site during some of those events. There's also, you know, if you're into sports, there's a summer internship game that they have competing against each one of the defense industries. So you'll see SpaceX there and some others. So it's good, you know, good humor out of it, and, you know, it brings out competitiveness between it. But yeah, if you're in the defense, go on to the website. never veer away from LinkedIn. Again, I think it's a great opportunity to expose yourself to each one of the different areas there. So yeah, hopefully I kind of got answered there. So.
Yeah, no, that's great. So yeah, so if folks are looking for that, um, that might be a great place to start. Your own internships, were they with the defense companies?
No, so I was in a company called Connexent, more towards Irvine. So if you're thinking maybe a little bit, I'll get away from defense a little bit. But if you are looking towards kind of the commercial side, there's Qualcomm, NVIDIA. There's a lot of companies that are starting to come up, a little bit smaller areas. A lot more mid-sized companies, I would say, are popping up, especially over in Irvine. I feel like this is becoming kind of a nice, like Silicon Valley is over by the defense. I think they're calling it Silicon Beach now. So Irvine is kind of like the new Silicon kind of startup area, and so it's really becoming quite a bit. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there. The mid-sized company that I was at was down over in Laguna Hills area, quite the commute from Long Beach, but again, it's a great opportunity. Then there's quite a bit of major companies over there. I listed a few, but and then I know some friends that went over to Western Digital, as for instance, and at the time for some people they remember it as hard drive people, but they make quite a bit of other products, and every company all has at least some sort of internship program, and I think it's great. Get your foot in. It's a good way to get your foot in the door towards figuring out what you want to do with the rest of your life. Because I started out again in FPGAs, and then I grew into ASICs, and at first I dabbled in thinking maybe I might want to do software. So it was a good way to get that exposure to everything. So hopefully you can kind of see, and depending on the person that that's watching this video is able to at least see that there's quite a bit differences between the fields. But in general, engineering is there's infinite possibilities. There's always something new popping up. I know AI is the new hot topic as of recent, so a lot of good companies are coming out of that too. So.
Yeah, well, hey, let's talk about AI a little bit. AI, it really is that hot topic across so many different industries. But in your position, in your job, and in the defense industry in general, what role is AI playing? And is it a good thing, or is it a bad thing? Where do you see AI fitting into the industry?
Yeah, so I kind of picture AI right now as a little bit more in the infancy stage, and it's going to be one of those things where a lot of people are going to learn to grow with it. Again, I'm starting to make myself sound very old, but when I went to college, we didn't have an iPhone. In 2003, the iPhone did not exist. I had a little Motorola flip phone, and at most it could play Snake. There was very little that was there. And then eventually, the iPhone came into play, and Siri was there. So if you picture Siri, she's more kind of, well, this Siri is like a tool, and it's there to help you answer questions if you have something, or do a quick Google search. So right now, I would say AI is still in that stage where we're figuring out how to use it. I think we can do short things, and I've seen quite a bit happening from watching a show, and you'll see this entry trailer kind of thing and it's showing AI making all this screen credits there. So it's being used kind of right now, but I think there's just so much power behind it. I have some friends that work for another AI company, and they're trying to expand on it, and a lot of companies, major companies like NVIDIA, are starting to use that technology to make their graphics card that much better, to make it learn, a little bit more of how the user or how that game actually uses this graphics, for instance, will make it that much better. So a lot of pros there are coming into it from, for me, just being a user right now. But, I see it more as in the future, though, as a tool that will be used. I've heard or read an article a while back that doctors, they were challenging to see, well, who could solve this one problem, for, this disease given this criteria. Both were able to answer it, which was, amazing because, AI is able to take so much information from, millions of lines of books and whatnot and digest it into, kind of odds from an analytical standpoint. There's a, likely chance that it could be X versus Y. Right now, us as humans, if we type anything, it's always goes to another company and it's always the worst case. But, so AI is kind of learning how to, how to do all this stuff. And so right now, doctors, they may consider it, for instance, but I don't think it'll ever be a replacement. I think we're still probably, 15 years away before even that conversation even happens, before it replacing any sort of position. I know, we see art. I think art is a beautiful thing. You can see here just behind me. I love, I know I'm showing Long Beach, but again, it's art. It's representing, stuff that I love. And, AI may be able to generate it, but I know that's generated from somebody local. And, I'm always supporting local businesses. So it really depends on how we see it. I know there's going to be a lot of people that will think, well, my position's going to be removed. And it's going to be a very long time before that happens. We're not going to see robots walking down the street by any means. But if anything, it's going to be, something that's going to help us for at least the short term. We're going to be users of it. It's not going to be like the movie Terminator taking over the world. Defense industry has already considered this. There's already a few projects that are in line to, help with AI. Right now, the hot topic is AI, but before that is also cybersecurity, and a lot of security kind of things are growing within that field. And the key thing for especially a defense industry is learning, the good side of that could happen from AI, and also realizing there is a bad side to it. So if you decide to go into that industry, there's a lot of good articles about it. Ignore the movies that they show you, just saw the end of the world. Terminator is, you go back in time 15 times and she's still saving the world, so
I always think of iRobot.
iRobot, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, so it's a long ways away, but I'm very excited, I would say, about it, because again, I mentioned Siri, and eventually I'm sure Siri is going to get that AI kind of platform, and that something else that will be able to automate something. And I can, if you're afraid of it, you can always turn it off, and that's where things are today. But a lot of things are growing from it. It's enabling a lot more different things. It may make your job a little bit easier. You don't have to, dig through that one research just to remember what was that one equation that my professor from year one stated to me, and you can type it in there and it may find it. So it's more of something helpful, I would say. It's just like the calculator, back when it was for us, and I can't do off the top of my head complex algorithms anymore. I might need to type it in every once in a while, but yeah, I consider it more of a tool. I think we're very long ways, but the future is going to be interesting, I would say, with and it's going to be helpful, and yeah. So.
Yeah, I like it. Cheery outlook on it. I like it. The robots aren't coming for us yet. So
yeah, no, yeah, not replacing jobs anytime soon. Trust me. I was worried about that too. Like, oh, what am I going to do? This thing, I've seen examples of it generating code for something. I was like, well, that's true. It can generate code, but is it going to know everything? Is it, it has to learn so much before it, ever becomes something that will, have emotions or, feelings or understanding of entire systems. It's quite a bit of ways.
Cool. Well, as we are coming up on time and wrapping up, there's always a last question that I like to ask, which is, if you could go back in time, right, Terminator status, and go back in time and talk to yourself as a fresh beach grad, and give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh, that's the $1 million question. I mean, if I knew what I knew today, I would say bet on the numbers for a lottery. But from a work standpoint, though, the key thing is the major shift when you go from the academics to pulling all-nighters. I know a lot of students do it, and in order to pass that test or get, A's and whatnot. And then you go into your first job, and then your mindset is still, oh, it's running 1,000 times a second. Just know everything takes time. You're 20, 20, 21, 22, entering, your career. This is going to be something that is going to, depending on if you're lucky enough to retire very early, take me along with you. But it's going to be something that, if you really love your job, you're going to do it for the next 40 years. There's so many things to learn. Take baby steps when it comes to it. A lot of little steps will get you there. You don't have to do leaps and bounds and, jump onto the very first thing. I know some people that I mentor are always nervous about, where they fit within the company, or I think like most people they worry about salary or something like that. So of course they start jumping around. But the problem with when you jump around a little bit is you kind of develop the not exactly an expertise in one specific thing. And that's where, if you take your time and, let something grow and kind of marinate for a little bit longer, that's the one thing that I wish, I did a little bit more. And, because I was very ambitious and I wanted to do this. I thought I was always better than somebody, but, there was still a lot of stuff that I had to learn. And I didn't learn it until I made my first jump, realizing, wow, my previous mentor was trying to tell me this. And that's what I'm seeing now, from this next mentor. So yeah, take it slow. I mean, there's so many things out there, especially in engineering, in any discipline. And you're going to want to be ambitious, and you want to hit the ground running, and you're going to want to do all those all-nighters again. Strangely enough, I kind of miss it, at times, but all those things are going to have a different change of pace. And so that's the one thing that, I wish I did. I think even though I did take the small steps, but there were some times when I wanted to make that next jump. And, I may have done it too early, but, so that's my one takeaway. I would say that I wish I did, outside of winning a lotto, but,
Yeah, I should have won the lotto too. What was I thinking?
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for that, Mike. I think that's a fantastic answer. And this entire chat has been, incredibly useful, I think, for folks who are thinking about, like, how do I get into this field, or what should those next steps be? So I just want to thank you so much for your time, and let everyone out here know, if you want to watch this again, refer back to it or send it to somebody who you think might get something great out of it. You can find this at our website at www.csulb.edu/alumni. And then also feel free to follow us on social media, so you never miss an industry chat or any of the other great things that we're doing here in alumni. But Mike, if folks wanted to reach out to you and maybe continue the conversation or ask any more questions, how might they do that?
LinkedIn is the easiest one. Yeah. Oh, and there's my information right there. Thank you. I was going to start typing it, but you beat me to it. But yeah, LinkedIn is the best way to reach out to me. I am an open book. If you have any questions at any time about your career or just engineering in general, feel free to reach out to me, and don't hesitate by any means. I will definitely answer my messages. So.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much, Mike, and thank you everyone here for joining in. And Mike, if you'll hang back, everyone else, thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.
All right,
Bye-bye.
thank you. Bye.